A friend of mine had a wildly successful mentor who told him that the biggest commonality that he's seen between the most effective leaders is that they're consistently in an 8 out of 10 mood. What does that mean? Why is that the commonality? How does that affect everything? And how can we learn from that? So, first of all, who does this apply to? It applies to you if you lead a team, if you have employees, or even if you work in an organization, or if you have a family, or you have a friend, or you have a relationship with another person, or even if you don't have a relationship with another person, it is also with yourself, how you lead yourself. So in any point we are in a leadership position, which we always are, we always can step into if we choose to, this applies to us. And it is a skill. And I get excited when I hear this because the ethos of Driven is that being happier or more optimistic and doing more of what you enjoy, and with that being in a good mood, not just makes you happier, obviously, but it also makes you more successful. They're not mutually exclusive. You don't have to choose between happiness or success. And so what does it mean? What does it mean, the 8 out of 10 mood? It doesn't mean happiness. I know I mentioned that previously, but it doesn't actually mean happiness. It means just having a good disposition, right? When terrible things happen, you have optimism and you go, hey, this sucks, obviously, and it doesn't feel good, and we got this. All right, let's keep moving. And it's just a general disposition of being quite positive, optimistic, and it's not a 10. It's not at a 10 out of 10, right? Also because it's not realistic, but most importantly, it's not relatable, right? It can be weird if things are horrible and you're just like, hey, great, we got this, right? It's also not a 5, what's kind of bleak. It's also not a 3 out of 10 mood, obviously, where it brings everyone down. It's 8 out of 10. And so that's the commonality that this mentor has seen. And I thought it was really interesting. Why is that? Well, the obvious reason is the emotional contagion, right? How you feel is contagious to others. Because people always scan the leader and how they react to certain news to inform how they should feel, right? If you're in the doctor's office and the doctor goes, sheesh, that's, oof, looks at your chart, you're going to freak out, right? Funny story, my mom, as a kid, when I would go to the doctor, she's a nurse, so she knows a lot of the terms. And he would say, yeah, it looks like we got something like this here. He used some medical term, and she would go, and I would freak out as a little kid, right? And then it wasn't anything bad. She was just worried, and she contaged me with this fear, with this anxiety, right? But yeah, I'm not a hypochondriac or anything, so no trauma there. But yeah, it's obvious. People look to who is most certain or who has the most authority to guide them on how they should think, how they should feel, and what does this mean? And if you are someone who's pessimistic or in a bad mood, obviously that's going to affect everyone, especially if you're in a position of leadership, right? How you react to, let's say you have kids, the kid falls on its face, right? If you go, you freak out, they're much more likely to cry. We've seen this online. I'm sure you've seen it in real life too. And it's with anything, right? It's even when you have a relationship with one person, a friend, a brother, family member, or an intimate partner, right? Obvious. But this is what really blew my mind. When I first heard about this, the most important thing is consistency. So even if you are not an 8 out of 10, it's better to be a consistent 5 out of 10 than to switch between 3 and 9. Because what happens is that it creates a big cognitive tax for people, right? For your employees, for your team, because they now have to manage or anticipate your mood, and when they have bad news, they wait for you to be in a good mood. And then when they have, good news, they keep those so that when you're in a bad mood, they can bring those and be like, oh, look at this, we got this, right? And they must know beforehand how you're going to feel about things, and that needs to be consistent. If you're at least consistently kind of pessimistic, okay, great, they know what you're going to say, right? It's still better to be an 8 out of 10, is what the mentor has found. But yeah, and this is what we see also in upbringing with people who are bipolar, right? Or who have bipolar parents, I should say. It is a constant vigilance. It is always being on edge because you have to anticipate how mom or dad feels, and then you become a chameleon. You become you flow like water, which can also be a really good skill and can be a thing to be thankful for, because those people are usually highly empathetic and they're really good at influence, right? I think Tony Robbins, life coach, whatever you want to call him, right? He's had a wild upbringing like that, with a crazy mom who would love him like crazy because she used him for basically meeting all her needs and deal with her drug addictions, or not drug addictions, but I think it was pain medication that she abused, and alcohol. And she would also flip out, and he would always have to anticipate how she would feel and how she would react, right? And it made him really good at reading people and just noticing subtle signs. But anyways, the key thing is that there's consistency when you're in a position of leadership, which we all are in different areas of life. And it doesn't mean that you have to be in a position of being a manager in your business, right? Because if you know about yourself, hey, I'm very volatile. I just have a very fiery nature. Things go up and down. I freak out. I spiral, and then I feel like I'm on top of the world the next day, right? I think every entrepreneur has this to some degree. Maybe you shouldn't be in a manager position. Maybe you should hire someone who's very stable. They are very leveled in their mood, in the way they approach things, in the way they see things, and you put them in charge of running the meetings, of speaking to the team, and laying things out. And ideally, this is the person that you talk to in the background, right? So because one of the biggest things on how to actually implement this, and this is huge news, or this was huge news for me at the time, years ago when I learned about this. When you're spiraling or you're uncertain, because we all have bad moods, or let's say moments where we're uncertain, where we feel like nothing's working, or we feel kind of hopeless, and you're like, ugh, whatever. Or moments where there's a dip in revenue, or the government put out a new law and it's going to screw the business and there's a lot of uncertainty. Don't share with the people that you're leading when you're currently spiraling, when you're uncertain, when you're currently in that mode where you're just like, oh my God, nothing's going to work. What are we even going to do? We have to do something, right? Sometimes it's hard to avoid. I get it. But what I found is that it's best for me to let the dust settle before I share bad news with people I'm leading, right? And that doesn't have to be in the business. It can also be in the relationship, right? So a friend of mine, he ended up getting divorced. Spoiler alert. Maybe I could have told the story better, lead up to it, but he got divorced. One of the biggest reasons that created a lot of uncertainty for his ex-wife was that she always felt like it was very unstable being with him financially. It was very volatile. But when you look at the finances, when you look at the money that actually came in, they were living good. And there actually wasn't much uncertainty if he had just not shared with her when he was feeling uncertain. Because what he would do is at the end of the day, he would share everything with her that's going on, right? And he's like, I don't know about this, and I don't know about that, and we'll see about that, right? And so she would feel worried when, all ideally she would have to hear is, hey, yeah, I was spiraling a bit today because I was a bit worried, but actually we got this, right? And he was feeling certain too, but he would share with her when he was feeling uncertain, when he was spiraling, when he, I guess, needed to share with someone, right? And I think that's the tough thing about being a leader, right? Is people look to you. They look to you in your family, right? Like, you're not going to tell your children, oh, mom and dad might break up, but we'll see, right? You're not going to do that to your children. You're only going to share it when the decision is made and you're in a state where, okay, I can share this from a place that is optimistic, or there's some stable ground here. But we do this quickly in our business, right? Where we're just like, we got to do something. We got to do something here. We got to innovate there. Here's a big problem. We have to immediately, like, it's this. The core problem is really this reactivity, right? And the way out of it is emotional self-regulation. is learning how to talk to yourself and also your relationship with results. And when things go up and down, just know that underneath what really matters, right? Because results change on the outside all the time. Problems come up. And oftentimes it's the things that you did 3 months ago that created the results today. So when results dip, sales, revenue, whatever, that doesn't mean that we have to do something exactly right now. Because oftentimes those results were created 3 months ago or 6 months ago, maybe even 12 months ago, right? And so that's one of the core skills that I think this beautifully highlights, is that learning to self-regulate, to be in a good mood, is one of the core skills of being a great leader. And it also doesn't mean, I want to caveat this too, it also doesn't mean that you don't share when bad things happen. It matters how you share them and from what place. You must share when bad news happen, when things don't go right, but it's how do you package it? What is the frame that you're looking through it as, and are you standing on stable ground? Because if you're not, they will feel unstable. They will feel uncertain, right? And if you suppress frustration that you have with a team member or with your significant other, or you also just ignore problems, obviously that's bad. Because deep down, people will always know. People have such incredible intuition. We think we're getting away with things. We think people don't notice. Everybody knows. If you've ever been in a program where people give you feedback, I've been in one of those. This is essentially what our school group is too, right? Driven. When you get feedback from other people and how they experience you, and you get this group awareness where everyone shares what they're seeing in each other, and we uncover each other's blind spots, it is insanely surprising how consistent the feedback is that you get, because everyone sees the same thing. And people's intuition is really good. I mean, it's a machine that's been built over thousands of years. This caveman intuition, looking at a person, how are they feeling? Are they being authentic? They're smiling, but something's off. Logically, you know, okay, their eyes aren't smiling, but there's just something that feels off. And so people know. And when they know that you're suppressing emotions, or you're suppressing frustrations, or you're ignoring problems because you're putting on a fake mood, right? A fake smile, fake cheerfulness, it creates a lack of trust. Because why aren't they telling me? It's a lack of rapport, right? So I think the best way to learn this is, again, learning emotional self-regulation, even just knowing the importance of this, and getting feedback from people you trust, right? People who know you and who can share what they see. And so this is one of the things we do in the school community. If you'd like to hop in, go ahead. But I thought I'd share this because I thought it was fascinating, and it creates it creates this motivation to go, okay, maybe I should look into my general happiness as a person. And of course, there are plenty of examples of people who are not emotionally in a good mood, right? They are kind of a chaotic entrepreneur, like Elon Musk is the best one, right? The best example for that. Like, how can you say he's a bad leader? It doesn't mean that he's a bad leader in the sense that he sucks at building companies. Obviously, he doesn't. He's pretty good at it, being number one in the world right now. But would you trust him to manage a team? Is he a good leader in his family, in his relationships? Based on results? In this sense, no. Can you learn it? I think you can improve it. And sometimes it is best to improve it as much as you can, and then also replace yourself, where you're not the one who is managing people. You're not the one who is, having all these touch points with everyone on the team. If you know that you are chaotic, you have crazy ups and downs, you are on the Kolbe scale, the KOLBE test that I mentioned before, you are a quick start, right? Because quick starts, they always want to, okay, next thing, I want to change something, I want to innovate, right? If you're high in that, that's just your working style, that's just your nature. So, hope that's valuable. hop in the school community. I have a one-on-one call with everyone who joins now, as we're still small. Hope this is valuable. Let me know if you watched it, and see you in the next one.